how sweet it is to be above 500 for the first time since October 18th. You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Go check out the Glebe Central Pub at 779 Bank Street. They are right in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them for great food, great drinks, and the Send Shuttle. $17 gets you round trip to and from the CTC. We're here after a 2-1 Ottawa Senators win in a shootout against the Minnesota Wild in a game they tied in the third period. And, well, there were some tense moments in overtime, but Pillsy, above 500, that sounds not bad.
Oh, it sounds great, Ross. And even better than just above 500, no longer is this team bottom of the Atlantic Division. They are now in 6th place ahead of the Montreal Canadiens and the Buffalo Sabres. So, Ross, sometimes you just got to cross the Atlantic to not be the Titanic sitting at the bottom of the ocean anymore. And that's what the Ottawa Senators do. Now that you can go back happy.
And for all of the flack that DJ Smith gets, he was right about one thing, that certain players step up when there's an emotional intrigue in that game. Anton Forsberg was brilliant in this game, and Erik Brandstrom scores the game-tying goal, his first goal of the season. So the Swedes come through for the Ottawa Senators, and they don't for Minnesota. Marcus Johansson fails to beat Forsberg on a penalty shot in the first period because of a closed hand on the puck by Erik Brandstrom. I mean, Philip Gustafsson, we got to give him some credit, though. He was good in this game.
Yeah, quick stick tap, for Gus. And then Ross, to amplify the Swedish narrative even more, game on the line, Joel Eriksson Ek can't do the Forsberg on Forsy. What a way to close that out for the Ottawa Senators. And hey, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
I didn't even make that connection. That's awesome, Pillsy. And that was great. And what else really caught my attention in this one is Daniel Alfredsson dropping the ceremonial puck for the face-off again. Erik Brandstrom 2-0 in the dot. 2-0 in the dot. Smooth. As the home team, they get to snap those back. But then Alfie not taking the carpet back to the penalty box. No, he was heading to the bench, where he is now 2-0 as a Senators member of the coaching staff. So I know they gave him the puck after the first one. Probably not for this one. Otherwise, they'd start stacking pretty high on his shelf.
Yeah, honestly. And Alfie's trophy case has enough stuff on it as it is. So I don't think he needs to add to that.
What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
Look, I said it. I don't even know how long ago, Ross. Anton Forsberg needs to start this game up against the Minnesota Wild. I feel like I've been saying for weeks, honestly, and people are like, no, you got to go with Corpy. He's the hot hand. Unfortunately, Corpy day-to-day wasn't even on the bench. Mad Sogard gets to back up this game. So hopefully day-to-day doesn't mean 6 days, because that's what they have, 6 days till the Islanders now. So he'll be back, I'm sure. But you need to look at certain stories, and I say it all the time, and maybe it sounds cliche, but hockey players are people too. You can't just go with the stats. You can't just go with the course. You can't just plug it in your computer and expect wins. You got to go off emotions sometimes. And Anton Forsberg needed this opportunity to prove himself. I think Ian Mendes tweeted out there was 40 friends and family for Forsberg in the crowd. Imagine how he feels if he doesn't get to play this game, that now he's down in the dumps even more. Give him the opportunity to elevate himself. I mean, this guy stops a penalty shot, he gets an assist, and he's perfect in the shootout. Like, you can't ask for a better game from a goalie, really. So, Forsy, shout out him. This is a massive game for him, and I think we're going to see more of this 1A, 1B goalie tandem going on, because Forsy's got his groove back now.
He certainly does. And I'm just looking through right now the drop box. We have some Central citizens chiming in, which we absolutely love. This was a shootout winner from Josh Norris that won this game. I know we all saw it on TV, on TSN, but how about getting an up close and personal view? Pillsy, this is unreal. We had a great citizen chime in yesterday with Avi Bulka. Let's get the view from the front row.
Hell yeah. I haven't seen this yet.
Scored this goal. Look at the angle, Pillsy. We're money here. Can you see this? You got it pulled up. Here we go.
Yeah, it's pulled. It's ready. And we're going. I bet he scores.
Yeah! Woo! Let's go. The Ottawa Senators, their first time in a shootout this season. It feels like, I don't know what the league average is, but it feels like Ottawa very rarely goes to a shootout. Some tense moments, though, as I referred to in overtime. Like, I don't know what was a closer chance, the Kaprizov one or where Ottawa was just mangled in front of the net and there was that bang bang play right in the slot.
Yeah, there was a lot of chaos in front of the net, Ross. There was a couple opportunities, and then you had the Brady and Timmy 2-on-1, and I believe Brodeen breaks that up. You and I were talking after. Brady's got to shoot that puck. I mean, when you've got that opportunity, sure, Tim Stützle, the overtime hero yesterday, but that could have been Brady's turn to get the winner there. Nonetheless, they end up winning in overtime, so it's all good.
Should we get to another citizen who's sent in a video here? Right boots on the ground. Should we get boots on the ground or what?
Let's keep the citizens going.
We got plenty to break down in this game, but it's so cool. We're literally thousands of kilometers away, and we've got people giving us updates here. Let's head to another citizen. Boots on the ground.
Hey guys, this is my live report. Game has just ended. I don't know what you saw or how you saw it. I thought that was one of the worst hockey games I ever witnessed. Neither team deserved to win, but luckily it was us that did. Forsberg saved our ass there, not only in the end, but throughout the entire game. Thought the ice quality was really, really bad. You could tell easily, and we'll just take it. We'll go home with 4 points. Everybody can decide for himself how deserved that is, but that's not the point that we should worry about right now. Let's just enjoy the rest of the night, and you take it from here. Back to Ottawa. Bye-bye.
Hey, back to
even the throw. I love that. Hell yeah, that was great.
It was the same spot. I brought it up on Thursday, Pilsy. That spot where Batherson had the giveaway in overtime was the same spot where the puck was fumbling on Thursday. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. They had to change. I didn't think changing the ice size would affect the ice quality as much as it would, but apparently it's made a difference here, unfortunately. Or I don't know, maybe the ice is just always bad there.
Right, and it just seems like it at this point. You're just like, okay, take the 4 points and run. But it is 4 points, right? Now all of a sudden the Senators still have these games in hand, but now they're 4-1 in their last 5 games, and things are starting to look up for a team that's finally out of the basement. They're ahead of not only Buffalo, but also the Montreal Canadiens, who have less wins but are tied in points. And of course, Ottawa has 2 games in hand on both the teams right ahead of them. They're 2 points behind Tampa and 3 points behind the Detroit Red Wings. But Pilsy, I'm not going to apologize for the Ottawa Senators getting a win courtesy of Anton Forsberg, because you and I were sitting in this exact same spot not even 2 weeks ago talking about how Anton Forsberg was the sole reason they lost that game.
Yep.
So there's games you're going to play well and your goalie's not maybe going to stand up as tall as he should. Tonight was the opposite of that. Loved what we saw from Anton Forsberg, and hopefully this can continue and snowball, because it was kind of a teeth-gritting moment when they showed the starting goalies and it was a 780 save percentage for Anton Forsberg. You want that one to pump all the way up, and 960 tonight. I mean, this is hopefully a sign of things to come, and we're obviously hoping that Joonas Korpisalo is good to go by the weekend with these 4 more days off. But if he isn't, they're going to need Anton Forsberg.
Yeah, I anticipate he'll be ready to go for then, Ross. But even if he's not, like, just looking at the schedule here, so you get Forsey to play that game up against the Islanders on the 24th, and then your next game's not till the 27th. So I think definitely if he truly is day to day, as they've said, then he'll be back for that Florida game. So not a big deal. But Ross, with the Senators now a 5-0-1 record in Sweden, Sens fans know going to Sweden, that's not the problem. If anything, that's kind of been a solution here to try to get November's back on track. But it's coming back from Sweden. That is the issue. So rest up. Well, I want some hard practices a couple days before the game. Maybe get a scrimmage going, try to get back into game mode. And then they I don't necessarily think they need to win that Islanders game, but they can't be flat. They can't let it chop any momentum they've had. It's got to be a good effort. And hey, maybe the Sens are going to keep a pattern going of getting to extra time here, because they don't have any extra time games, and then they get an overtime winner and a shootout winner. So loser points sounds good to me.
No, winner points, Pilsy.
Well, the opportunity to get loser points, because they weren't giving themselves that earlier on. But yes, winning points is so much better.
It feels a lot better giving that extra point to Minnesota versus what it did
Take it. You know what? We feel bad for them. Take it, Minnesota. Have that on your backs for the next game up against the Leafs tomorrow, right?
Yes, of course, the back-to-back because they're playing the Leafs.
Yeah, of course.
Ridiculous. Anyways, we don't have to get into the schedule and how ridiculous it is because the Senators were able to go to Sweden, get 4 points. Now, Pilsy alluded to, and maybe some fans aren't as familiar with the horrors that happened after the last Sweden trip. Ottawa came back, went 0-6-1 in their next 7 games, and 1-10-2 in the 13 games when they came back. 1 win in 13 games after that Sweden.
It's insane.
So,
it's insane. Yeah. And that's after they pushed all their chips in to acquire Duchesne, and they're like, okay, we got our number 1 centerman. Like, this team cannot fail.
Yeah, I mean, I could even keep this going. The furthest I'll take it is they had 7 wins in their 32 games after Sweden. 7 wins in 32 games. They went 7-21-4.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. You know what they need to do when they get back, Ross? Maybe midway through the week, pop over to obviously Shoreham Palace, but pop over to Daniel Alfredsson's paddle courts and get another paddle tournament going. That seemed to work out. Yeah,
that worked out very well last time. Oh man, we should have thought about Daniel Alfredsson being a Sen Central standout. We weren't clever enough for that, but what we did do is have 2 Swedes and an unsung hero. That'll be next. We'll also get to the comments. We love the chat. It's buzzing right now. If you're not in the postcast, if you're listening to this live later, always try to make it after each and every Senators game because the vibes are high. We vibe or vent. Yeah, there was a bit of both after the win against Detroit. But right now, I think there's a level of realism. That wasn't a great game. It was kind of a classic Minnesota Wild hockey game where it's just like they bore you to death and then hope to just pounce an opportunity.
I don't know, Ross. I disagree. I think this wasn't a classic Minnesota Wild game. This team allows the most goals, I think, of any team this year. They average 4.2 goals a game. The last game up against Dallas, they allowed 5 power play goals and 2 shorthanded goals. That's why I put the over in my parlay. It was the only part of the leg that didn't hit.
I know. It was a bit wrong of you not to appreciate that both Swedish goalies in their home country.
You know what? Actually, I was thinking that in the first period, Ross. I was like, huge miss by me not understanding that these Swedish goalies were going to turn out here. So you know what? That is my bad.
And Hannah mentioning that Patty Levitan should be a Sen Central standout. She had the hype. She had the hype video going. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go over on Twitter at Sen Central. Patty's probably in the chat right now, so give her a couple stick taps as well. Pilsy, go ahead.
Patty said she was nervous about this game. As I was watching that, I was like, I'm nervous about my job. Like, you're going to be calling Patty in to do the postcasts and pregame shows from now on, and I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines here. So hopefully this doesn't affect my job here.
It is a long overdue Sen Central citizen. We are going.
Hey, we've offered. We put the offer on the table, so Patty can't fault us there.
We are going to work on that. The vibes are high. The Sweden trip has been swept. And the Ottawa Senators, don't look now, but they're 8-7-0 on the season. Today's episode, as all postcasts are brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub, right in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them for great food, tasty drinks, and an elite atmosphere that can't be beat. Location-wise, you're right by Lansdowne. It's just a great walking area, too. If you're going for a stroll on a Saturday or Sunday, head down there and then fuel up at the Glebe Central Pub. You can also head there pre-post Ottawa Senators games. Take the shuttle, $17 to and from the CTC. It's always a great vibe at the CTC and at the Glebe Central Pub, the GCP, where the vibes are free. They've also got fun things like open mic night. They've got live music, all sorts of fun activities there. So go check them out, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. Pilsy, if you get the Glebe Central Pub shuttle, but you want to get tickets to the event, where would you go?
Oh, I mean, there's only one place to go for tickets, and that's Game Time, the official ticketing app of the Locked On Podcast Network. And the thing is, when you're looking to buy tickets, you're looking to spend your hard-earned money to have a fun night out. Buying the tickets should not be stressful, and it's not stressful with Game Time. It's easy. A guy like me can do it. I went to the Bengals game, used Game Time a couple weeks ago, and you can get tickets for your favorite sporting events, but not just sports. They've got comedy, music, and theater as well. So many different things you can check out on your night on the town. Get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Get your tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps, boom, you got the tickets on your phone. Nice and easy. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. In fact, if you find the same tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So guys, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Yes. Ha ha ha. Yes.
That is DJ Smith, the coach who's won the last 2 games for the Senators. The seat, though, is it cooled down at all? Let us know in the chat. I'm curious what people think. Like, do wins even matter, or have people just already made up their mind about DJ Smith? I am curious about that. I also want to let everyone know that a surprise is on its way right now.
Whoa.
To the postcast, so everyone can stay tuned for that. And it's one of those where I don't even there's no chance it disappoints, so I'm excited for everyone to get into the postcast.
This is a surprise for me. I have no idea what this is.
Somewhat, it's been discussed earlier, Pilsy, but we will have a special guest joining us in
Glenn Murray
on the postcast. No, Glenn Murray will not be joining this postcast. Open invite though, Glenn. If you want to come on, feel free. And some people in the chat are probably like, what the heck is going on? Because not everybody could be in the postcast at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, but you know who could, Pilsy? You know who could? I don't know if you've seen this little story. It's all-time hilarious. I need to give a shout out here. Yanzel_ID. Okay. He posted himself watching the postcast of yesterday's game, where you can see it right there.
Okay, I saw this. Yeah.
Canada can't stop me. What are you going to do now, HR? Check this out. The follow-up tweet. I don't know if have you seen the follow-up tweet? And he might be right now. All-time hilarious. Can't get the cursing on there. Said HR isn't buying it. They printed out his tweet saying he's going to have a couple pints watching the Sens game, and they had a word with him at the office. So if you're in the chat, that is dedication, and we appreciate you.
Let's get official Locked On letter stamps, and we'll write this guy an excuse for his work. You know how sometimes the mayor of the city does those for like championship games for the city. Like, if you are watching the Locked On Senators postcast presented by the Glebe Central Pub, you are hereby excused from all working, and you are allowed to enjoy a pint. We'll make that letter and we'll send it out for you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's on us. And we appreciate you for following along.
That's good.
Isn't that good? I love it. That's great. So the Ottawa Senators got a 2-1 win in Sweden against the Minnesota Wild. The Senators 31 shots on goal, Minnesota with 25. Both teams go 0 for 4 on the power play. Senators win over 60% of the faceoffs in this game, 54.7% of the 5-on-5 shot share. Only 6 hits, though, for the Senators, 16 for Minnesota. There was one fight in this game as well. Zach McEwen got his bell rung by Jacob Middleton, 67's legend, Jacob Middleton. But, what were your thoughts on the fight?
I don't know. Look, I want to like Zach McEwen. I'm sure he's a great guy, East Coast guy. But, again, go through his hockeyfights.com. He doesn't often come out on the right side of things. What I will give him, though, is it's not short fights. He's hanging in there. He's taking punches. He's throwing a punch or two. Also, he gets in the mix a little bit, but not a great look for Zach McEwen there. But I will give him this. Getting a defenseman off with you is a nice move. Like, if you're going to fight and not confidently going to win the fight, at least take a minute muncher off and try to do your part that way. I would have liked for it to be, Spurgeon or Brodin or someone like that, but we'll take it.
Brodin's pretty good, hey?
Oh, yeah. He's good. He had a couple nice defensive plays in this one and some good shots as well.
Yeah, he's their Zub, but obviously I'd say even a level above.
Yeah, he's the combination of Zub and Sanderson, the skating with the defensive acumen. Not that Sanderson doesn't have defensive acumen.
But, I mean, it's still coming, right? Oh, nice call with the sneeze. The mute.
I was waiting for that one.
Now we got a new one. Positive Pillsy. How about professional Pillsy? He doesn't want you guys to hear the sneeze. He just, covers it up right away. While we await our guests, why don't we get to the Send Central standouts?
Let's do it.
In this game, Pillsy. Always fun to do these after a win. I didn't know if I had the right thing up. I do. These are our Send Central standouts. Number one, absolute no-brainer. It's Anton Forsberg. 24 saves on 25 shots, 3 for 3 in the shootout, and 1 for 1 on penalty shots in this game.
If anyone's wondering what time it is over in Sweden, Anton Forsberg and Erik Brandstrom can tell you because they got 2 new rollies on their wrist, that's for sure. So,
no, only one.
What?
They only gave out 1 Rolex.
I thought it was for player of the game.
Yeah.
Anton Forsberg was not player of the game this game?
It wasn't Brandstrom last game. It was Tim Stützle.
Oh, right. Yeah, fair. Damn. Well, don't ask Erik Brandstrom what time it is, I guess. Jeez. But, oh, yeah, true. Branny didn't get it last time. That's my bad. But Branny, he can tell you that this guy.
Who needs a Rolex when you can be a Send Central standout?
Yeah, true. Yeah, we'll send Brandy something nice here, maybe a candy watch or something. But Anton Forsberg, I'm going to try to get back on track here. Anton Forsberg, just with an incredible game. We've kind of already broken that down. So let's give some love to the Swedish short king here, Ross, Erik Brandstrom. For him to pull off that clapper with that much confidence is, I was on my feet, standing ovation, clapping. Like, it was insane that he was able to blast that past his old teammate Phil Gustafsson. And Mark Mathot constantly tells us, Brandy, he's just got a muffin. Well, that was no muffin right there. That was a scone going through the air that beats Philip Gustafsson. So I loved Brandon's game here, other than the catching the puck off the glass. I guess it's instinct. You just want to grab it and not have it go in. But that's one. He got second place in the paddle tournament. Swat that away, Brandy. You know better than that.
Yeah, use that hand-eye. But Brandy, still a good game overall. I thought that obviously the goal is what got them back into this game. So we're going to give some stick taps to the home countrymen with Brandy and Forsberg, but also Artem Zub. And for me, I think this is more like, this is the Drew Doughty Norris equivalent, where it's a bit of a lifetime achievement award over in Sweden. Both games, I think combined, Artem Zub was elite defensively. Yeah. What he did on the PK today was nothing short of remarkable. The skating's good. Everything just calms down when he's on the ice. So I think that Zub deserves a bit of a shout out here. 3rd on the team in expected goals percentage, 2nd on the team in Corsi for percentage, played over 20 minutes, and less is more with Artem Zub. He's not going to be the flashiest guy out there, but I thought he was good tonight. Yeah, Alex is saying it perfect in the chat. Zub is essential. Zub has his own banner.
Yeah, Zub, essential worker, that's for sure. This guy is needed out there.
He can come to work in any sort of fashion. Our guest is waiting for an Uber, so we might be delayed. In worst case, we'll get him on for a full episode.
Are they driving to the studio? Are they going to the Blue Mountains or Winnipeg? That's me a long Uber.
From Sweden?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very long ride. But yeah, who else? Do you have a 4 standout? We did 4 yesterday.
Yeah, I'll give an honorable mention to Brady Tkachuk here. I mean, it was a classic Brady Tkachuk game. He finishes with 7 shots on goal. He was 100% in the face-off dot. He played 21 minutes on ice, only the 1 hit. Like we already mentioned, 6 hits in a game for a team total for the Ottawa Senators that's probably the weirdest stat of all of this, Ross. Not the Forsberg or Hamnick assist or going to shootout for the first time ever or any stat. Only 6 hits all game is wild. But yeah, I thought Brady Tkachuk had a nice game. He had some good chances. Would have liked for him to shoot on that 2-on-1 in overtime, but other than that, nice one from the captain.
It certainly was. So overall impressions from Sweden. What are you going to tell people about the Senators 2023 Global Series?
That the Swedes were shining in the second game. Like this game is all about Forsberg and Brandy. Like even mentioning Zub and Tkachuk is just kind of filling out the standouts here because these 2 were the key to winning this game. And look, when you can get 2 wins on an international trip like this, that's going to do a lot to boost the morale. So, you know what, Ross, at the start of the year, I don't know about you. I forget what your narrative was, but I was kind of moaning and groaning, being like, why do the Sens have to be the ones that go to Sweden? They lose 2 home games. This is classic NHL versus the Sens, blah, blah, blah. Send the Sens to Sweden every single time. I mean, I don't mind it whatsoever. Sens fans got to have a nice trip. Sens fans in Europe, in England, in Czech. Our guy Prague Senator was at the game. I saw that, so they get to go to the game. They're close by. That's awesome. Hopefully, there was some local Swedish Senators fans that got to enjoy that as well. Family and friends of Forsberg got to see him get the dub here. So send the Senators to Sweden as much as possible and keep Alfie behind the bench. Come on.
Can I at least put the caveat that let's not waste home games over there?
Ross, they won 2 out of 2 home games out there. I don't care if you call them home games, away games, intercontinental, vacation games. I don't care what you call them. If they get 4 out of 4 possible points, sign me up.
Okay, now for the not so great part of the game. Pillsy, this did not look like a confident effort from the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, as our pals said there, who was that did the video after us? I didn't catch the name there, the post game video.
What's that? Oh, great question. Didn't put his name.
Thank you. Okay, well, our anonymous video provider, as he said, not a great hockey game. Like overall, it really wasn't that great. Even though, like, if you would have told someone you're getting a goalie assist, a Brandstrom slap shot, a fight, a saved penalty shot, and it goes to shootout, you're probably like, oh, that sounds like a decent game. But overall, it was kind of slow, especially for 2 teams with bad defensive structures. You thought there would be a lot more mistakes leading to wacky goals or something like that. But yeah, just overall, kind of a meh game, but at least the Ottawa Senators come out on top here.
That's the key here. It's not how, it's how many, right?
Yeah, we're not apologizing. We're not sorry. Like, we're taking the 2 points if we can get them. We are desperate. Yeah, nice. The Slag Scott. Yes.
Slag Scott. Heck yeah. So Ed saying the home record needed the boost. Yeah, you're right about that, Ed.
It's true. Exactly. So I don't mind it as much as I did before the season started, Ross.
Yeah, and we'll give some stick taps too. We gave some to Gus. I think Marco Rossi, obviously, he's had a tough go of it with the long COVID and missing an entire year, but he's back. He scores a goal in this game, and there were times where he was very noticeable with these speed bursts every now and again. So obviously, he's not a player that you would have taken 3rd or 5th in that draft. He ends up going, I believe, 9th, if I'm not mistaken. But he'll be a heck of a player, and I think a lot of people in Ottawa are cheering for Marco Rossi. So even though he got a goal here, a nice little deflection off a Brock Faber point shot, my lookout player, by the way, Brock Faber. It was in a losing effort, so we can give him a little love for that.
Sure, yeah, and it definitely is disappointing that Marco Rossi has had to deal with long COVID, as that obviously really sets you back. And if anyone needs their entry-level contract players to thrive for them, it's a team with almost $15 million in dead cap money. So the Minnesota Wild are stoked about that as well.
I was going to ask who gets the fire helmet from our guy, Tim Stützle, but it's so obviously Anton Forsberg, right?
I think they might give it to Branny.
Should I put both? I'm going to put the poll up. I'm going to put both. And we'll see what you think. I'm not sure here. I'm going to vote for Forsberg.
I think it's going to be Branny.
Okay, who gets the fire helmet from Tim?
I mean, we're talking about a guy in Eric Brandstrom that only scores but once a year. I mean, shout out to everyone who celebrates Eric Brandstrom goal days. Like, it doesn't happen that often.
Well, I mean, they're happening more and more. Have we gotten a reaction yet from Meth in the group chat?
He said he's skating with the Sens alumni, and he didn't realize that Brandy scored, but we let him know.
He's playing dumb. He's like, "Oh, Brandy scored? I wouldn't know."
Yeah.
Give me some final thoughts. We'll get to the comments in the chat in After Dark, but let's wrap up the audio portion. And again, if you're just listening to this, go check out the full version on our YouTube. Like and subscribe, all that great stuff.
I mean, final thoughts for me. I've kind of already said it, so I'll just do a little wrap-up spiel here. It's so relieving to get the 4 points in Sweden, even though both of these games, maybe not necessarily how the Sens drew it up, especially that Detroit game, but winning in overtime, then winning in shootout is something the Ottawa Senators have not had to do this year. They haven't even had the opportunity. It was a first for both of those kind of chances, and they make the most of it. So if you're the Senators, you got to be feeling good coming back on this flight. You got lots of time to prepare for that Islanders game. Hopefully, Ross, we might even see Tom Shabbat come back for that Islanders game as our boots on the ground people in Sweden, Dr. Bob and our guy Matt from Centennial were saying in practice, he was ripping shots pretty good, and he looked like he was feeling good for a guy that had a hand injury being able to shoot that puck. So come back healthy. Come back with a big win, and don't let that Swedish slide happen again like it did the first time.
I believe the video might have been Andreas because he mentioned he was going to send us one. He was at the game. So shout out
Andreas.
Yeah, Biff mentioning it as well. Biff's at the game too. Fans on both sides were shouting boring. You know, my final thoughts will be, because I always like kind of highlighting something fun that might not have been as obvious, especially if someone missed the game. But both goalies on the bench making glove saves in this one. Marc-Andre Fleury and our guy Mad Sogard was on the bench. I thought that was kind of fun how they both got in the action there.
Yep, exactly. And yes, G-Man, I did overlook this. I guess what I was saying more is he would be able to come back, not officially able to be on the roster yet. So yeah, I think he's going to be ready to go once he's able to come back with the LTIR process. So that'll be nice.
Heck yeah. Absolutely love that. Pilsy, great show, great weekend, great trip to Sweden. One more long break. And then in the Postcast After Dark, I'm going to pull up the December schedule because it gets very important and very quick, fast, coming at you. Lots of games, not so many days. We'll discuss all that after dark. Next week, we'll have Ian Mendes, hopefully Mark Method as well. Senators don't play until Friday when they'll be taking on the New York Islanders, continuing their homestand, I say with a wink, at the CTC against the Islanders, as I said. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. All right, welcome back. Postcast After Dark. And yeah, Ian Mendes is on his way to the hotel, so we'll see if he can jump on in time. If not, I think we should save it, get a full episode with him on Monday.
I don't want to rush Ian Mendes. He's an all-time guest.
You cannot rush Ian Mendes, but I'm gonna have to think up some trivia for him because we always have to put him on the spot. He's one of the most knowledgeable guys and just has that steel trap brain. So we'll see what we can do there. Anton Forsberg, 81% of the votes, brother. So you're in the minority.
That's fine. I think I was in the minority with the Chartier one a little while ago, and I nailed it. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm not about to argue against Anton Forsberg getting it. I'm just saying I think sometimes people go with the best performance of the game, where that's not the betting strategy of how the fire helmet gets handed out.
What I will say is
Are we going real after dark?
I mean, your room looks. Oh, I guess it was just darker than mine. All right, there you go. There you go. Good stuff. No, but just all. What were you getting at there?
I was just trying to.
And the lights in my brain went off as well.
Hey, that happens, buddy. I get that. I was just trying to say that you can't always look at points and stats when it comes to who gets the fire helmet. It's about guys that perform, that maybe are unsung heroes. And I feel like Brandy getting his first goal in God knows how long. They said they had a graphic on the broadcast, first point since April 10th. I think they're going to get it to him.
Okay. Well, we will find out soon enough. The Senators content team's been hard at work. I love the Anton Forsberg mic'd up segment as well. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, definitely. That's always a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see kind of all the combined content. I'm sure they're going to put something out at the end of this from everything that happened in this time in Sweden. What a success for these guys. I feel so happy for Eric Brandstrom and Anton Forsberg. Like I mentioned, kind of unsung heroes of a team that has the likes of Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Jake Sanderson. Like those guys get a lot of the shine here. But to bring it back in Sweden, to get a goal, to get the win like this, that's got to feel great for those two guys. I hope they better have a full green light tonight and really enjoy themselves.
Well, yeah, now 4-1 in their last 5 games, the one loss coming in a game where they doubled their opponents in shots against the Vancouver Canucks, 30-16 were the shots, even though it was a 5-4 loss. So the wins are starting to pile up, and they needed that because they had that stretch where they lost 5 of 6. So that's just one of those things. We've kind of complained about it within games, but I mean, there's also a sense of complaining about it in kind of a larger view is the inconsistencies. It just feels like, I know hockey's kind of a game of momentum, a game of streaks, but if they could find a way to not let the bad stretches get as long as they do, I think they could be putting themselves in a really good spot going forward. And one thing they're going to have to look forward to is it kind of was that segment, right? It was that pre-Sweden segment of the schedule. So where do you draw the next segment? Because they come back, like we said, they have this one break. Like if you're the head coach, what are you telling them to look at right now at the upcoming schedule? I'm going to pull it up here for everyone who's watching on YouTube, but the start I'll do up until Christmas. Like maybe that's what you'll tell me, or maybe you'll break it down even further than that. But what would you be looking at if you're DJ Smith with the upcoming games?
I'm breaking it down much shorter than that, Ross. I'm putting just the Islanders game and the Florida game. That's a segment right there. Your 2 first games before heading back once you head back from Sweden, those are crucial to not let that slide happen. And then, I mean, yeah, you look at this schedule here. It's a tough schedule as far as a lot of games go. Now, at least, Ross, that's a nice back-to-back. Only going to Columbus, not that far away, and that's a team that's down bad, even worse than the Senators or Minnesota Wild. I think the only team down worse might have been, maybe not anymore, the Oilers and the Sharks. And then Seattle, that's a team that's struggling right now too, and you get them at home. So I really like the Senators' odds there. So to answer your first question, I'm segmenting those 2 games, Islanders and Florida. Like that's its own little segment there, because it'd be easy to come back and be like, we had all this time off, we weren't ready against the Islanders, we're still kind of getting back to things in North America up against the Panthers. No, they can't do that, especially that game up against the Panthers, Ross. Now that they're not in the basement of the Atlantic here, you're scoreboard watching, not just to have teams ultimately lose, but you're jockeying for position inside the division. And the Florida Panthers, Ross, I believe Montour and Ekblad were just activated off LTIR today. So they're going to be back and ready to roll for that. Look
how many days off there have been over the last 3 weeks of November.
Ross, I am well aware. Both of us are. I don't want to say it's been a grind covering the team without those games, but it's made us feel like each day without a game is like twice as long, because we're just hungry for more Sens games here, especially now that they're actually winning some games.
Yeah, I mean, the opposite would have been if they lose these 2 games. It would have been nightmare. 5 days coming up to cover them. So Luke is saying you got to be 6-3 by the end of November here for the month of November. I think he's talking about, right?
What is November at now?
They are, if I scroll up, I don't think that's possible. Oh yeah, no, because they right now in November.
Well, they have to be perfect.
Yeah, true. So there you go. You got there, and you just brought up a great point. These Florida Panthers, they keep winning. We're starting to see a little bit of separation between teams in the Atlantic Division as we can pull up the standings there. Like Florida's pulling away.
Look at the Sens.
I know. Come on, they got to be ahead of Tampa Bay and Detroit sooner rather than later, and then that's when things will really start getting interesting, because I do think the Leafs are going to at some point go on a bit of a run where they win 5 or 6 in a row. And hopefully, I mean, December 7th, if Ottawa's right there, like that could be a really fun game in kind of what will give them hopefully some momentum going into that busy month in December. And I love the comments here. Joe Bell and Alex both saying what we've been preaching too. Games in hand, baby.
Games in hand. Let's go.
Games in hand don't mean anything if you don't win those games.
No, Ross, games in hand mean a lot. Like whenever I'm looking at games played and games in hand, I just automatically give the Sens wins to tie the games played. So you look the Florida Panthers, Red Wings, and Tampa, they have 2 more games than Ottawa. Let's say Ottawa wins both those games. Obviously, you get 4 points. Look at where they are now. Like that. That's how an irrational fan looks at having games in hand, or at least that's how I do it.
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
Eric saying games in hand equals 4 points. Yep, automatic.
yeah. So you can just add them right on, and then
And you can add them on, Ross, without other teams playing games as they will and accumulating more points. Like it's just an automatic bump.
yeah, like they're basically tied with Toronto right now. Or no,
Yeah.
it's Toronto, because Toronto, they only got one game in hand, but
True.
The other two teams there, Detroit and Tampa, like
They've leapfrogged them. Yeah,
just keeping the seat warm for the Ottawa Senators. Eric mentioning Sens will never, ever lose again. Pamo taking a more realistic approach. He looks at each game in hand as 1 point to assume you win half, you lose half.
Well, I mean, at this point, with the Sens taking back-to-back games into extra time, that checks out for me, Pamo. Seems legit.
Yeah, seems legit to me too. But the bottom line is you go over to Sweden. It's a business trip, and the Ottawa Senators took great advantage of that by winning both these games in spectacular fashion in terms of the back and forth roller coaster of emotions that was Thursday afternoon. And then this morning, still feels weird to call a game day a morning, but then to have it just so sluggish and both teams over on the power play and both teams just like slugging along here. And it was Minnesota's first game in Sweden as well. They play tomorrow against Toronto. So this was one you kind of had to have. So to get it the way they did, not the prettiest win, but they'll take it, bag up the 4 points and sprint home.
Yeah, exactly, Ross. Just take the 4 points. Don't apologize. And as Steve G says, you just got to get in front of Detroit and Montreal. Like, we're not asking for a whole lot here. Just get in front of those guys at least.
Oh, I got a question for you. Who are you cheering for yesterday between Toronto and Detroit? Who'd you find yourself cheering for?
Regulation.
Yeah, me too.
That's it. I'm not cheering for either of those teams.
Yeah, that's fair. I found myself cheering for Toronto, one, because I felt like it's more likely that they're going to make playoffs anyways.
No, that is fair. Yeah.
And Detroit. And also, like, I like seeing DeBrincat upset.
Oh,
he's got such the whiny face that he makes.
Well, Ross, one of the most famous memes, maybe not anymore, but going around was the grumpy cat. Everybody likes a grumpy cat. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, actually. Some people are mentioning both sides. So I see both sides of the argument, but just naturally, I just found myself, I really dislike Detroit. Interesting how few Detroit Red Wings fans were in the chat on Thursday, hey?
I mentioned that. Now, we did have some polite Red Wings fans in the chat being like, hey, good game. That was a good one. So nothing wrong with that. I don't mind that. But the ones that thought they were doing such a good job taking over the postcast last time, I don't know. Maybe they were sleeping in. Maybe they weren't able to make it out to that other postcast. But that's what happens.
That's all that happens. Oh, look at that. We've got a very special guest joining us. Look at that. Just jumps right on the link. This is a Postcast After Dark with Ian Mendes over in Sweden. We turned the lights off. We're just having a private chat, us three. How's the trip been? How are you doing?
Oh my God, guys, I am so jet lagged. I can't tell you. This has been, like, from a sleep standpoint, it has been really tough. And I'm usually somebody who never has problems sleeping, never really has too much problem with jet lag. I don't know what it is. It gets dark at about 3:00 here every day.
Yeah, we heard that.
And I think that's maybe messing with me a little bit, but the sleep has been off, but it's been an amazing trip. The game today, I don't know how you guys felt watching it back on the other side of the world, but it was flat inside the arena. It was flat. It was not a great atmosphere. So that part of it was a little disappointing, but that first game was super fun. At least the ending was anyway.
I don't know, Ian. One of those games, the Detroit games, I thought I was going to have a stress-induced panic attack, and then this one, I thought I was going to need someone to wake me up to tell me this game is still going on. So two very different tales here, and especially, Ian, I don't know about you, but I expected, especially when the Ottawa Senators got 4 power play opportunities up against a team in the Wild that has a 63.7 PK percentage, I thought we'd see a parade of goals on the man advantage.
Yeah, and go back to the Detroit game on Thursday, and just think of the third period. They had and the game was tied at 4, and they had a 5-on-3 power play that got negated pretty quickly. They had a full 2-minute power play. Detroit put the puck over the glass. Then Detroit had too many men on the ice, and they didn't connect. And I think I asked DJ Smith about it after the game, and his answer was, we're too, I think it was the word like passive, like we're not And I felt it was the same way tonight. Like, it wasn't like I'm almost at the point where I would say put 10 names in a hat. Obviously, you're going to split up your defense or whatever, but blow this up. Like the last couple of games, I haven't loved it. And tonight they could have used a power play goal that would have made this a far less adventurous finish for them. And the margin of error is not zero for this team, right? Like they have to. You got to win on special teams, and they were lucky they were playing a team that just looked just as tentative or maybe more tentative than they did tonight.
Is it just an eye test thing for me, or do you see some credence to it? They don't seem like they're going to Josh Norris for the one-timer like they have been in years past.
I was just thinking that today because they did try to go to him on one of the power plays. He was set up in that right face-off circle, and he didn't even really get a great shot. I think Gustafsson made the save. He didn't get a great kind of grade A, the chances you expect from Josh Norris. He didn't get it. And I don't know if that is that now just that pre-scouting. Every team in the league knows Josh Norris scores from the circle. Probably there's some, except in theory that should open up the other side of the rink and Tim and Sanderson from the point and whatever Batherson or Kachuk down low. And so it's the worst thing you want is to have a predictable power play. Like it is, it's fine if it's predictable and it's working, but like when Norris, everyone knew. Remember a couple of years ago when he scored the 35 goals. Everybody knew where the puck was going and he could still score. Like that was the cool thing about Norris in 2022. And this year they just haven't been, I guess, maybe seeing that same seam pass to him and, whatnot. But hey, listen, I got to give Norris credit because he scored on Thursday against Detroit. He scores the shootout winner tonight. And at least I think he's showing a little bit of jump to his offensive side of the game.
Ian, how much of a confidence boost do you think this game in particular does for guys like Eric Brandstrom and Anton Forsberg? They get to come over. You wrote about it in your articles. We've been following along with you in The Athletic that Brandy and Forsberg got to be the tour guides. They had a lot of fun with the paddle tournament. Friends and family are here. Those are two guys that I've kind of been touting as unsung heroes, especially Eric Brandstrom. Just how much of a confidence boost do you think that's going to be for those guys to have big performances and ultimately get this team to win today?
Brandon, I think more so Forsberg because if you think about it, go back, and I'm sure you guys talked about this over the last week, like, if Korpisalo had, and they won, but if Korpisalo had pitched a shutout against Detroit and looked really good and was healthy, there was absolutely an argument for running back with him, right? Like there was an argument because these games matter. But I think they made a decision, it sounds like a while back, that this means something to Anton Forsberg. Now, and it's great. It's all great. This isn't a league of like kind of Disney movies. Like this is a league where you got to win. So I think what Zach Burke and DJ Smith did, I think, is they said, okay, we're going to give you your chance. Now take the ball and run with it. Like, and I think that means a lot to him. Like they could have, again, Korpisalo was hurt, so maybe it's all a moot point, but they could have easily said, hey, win and you're in, or we're going with the hot hand. I'm really sorry. It doesn't matter where we're playing, but they didn't. They laid this out. They wanted him to play. They wanted him to have a chance. And you hope he builds on it. Anton Forsberg is one of the most likable guys, one of the most normal goalies too. He's pretty normal guy. I think to get an assist, as Josh Norris told us, a few minutes ago, he's like, you got a primary apple. Don't forget about that. And it's huge. It's pretty cool. Like,
and it wasn't just an apple, Ian, where it hits his pad and then play progresses. That was a tape to tape 2-line pass.
Yeah, like 100, 20 feet or whatever you want to call it. And, Branson joked with us today after the game and said, oh, it's a set play. We've been working on it, which they haven't. But I'm a big believer sometimes in the hockey gods, because when else would you ever imagine Anton Forsberg sending Eric Brandstrom down the wing with a shot? Like that scenario almost never presents itself, but it did today in Stockholm. And you go back to last night here, and Willie Nylander, at home, puts on a show, gets the tying goal, sets up the winning goal. And, sometimes those things matter, right? And these are the things you're going to remember. I think down the road, like 5 years from now, you're probably not going to remember anything from this wild Senators game other than Forsberg setting up Brandstrom. I think that might be the only thing you remember out of this game.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to go with the Sweden trip. I'm going to be telling my grandkids about that Tim Stützle baseball back goal.
Yeah, 100%.
But us, it's a goalie-friendly show. We'd never forget that. I just added it, and we had the standouts already. One primary assist added in there for Anton Forsberg. We put a poll up, Ian. I want your call. We always ask who's going to get the fire helmet next. Tim Stützle has it. You have to take that into account. It's down to the two Swedes. Is it the guy who tied the game, or is it Anton Forsberg?
I go Anton Forsberg because he needed to stop a penalty shot. He needed to stop the shootout, right? Like that's pretty significant, in my opinion. So I'm going Forsberg, first Swedish goalie to ever win a game, an NHL regular season game in this country. I'm going Forsberg.
Me too.
I'm going Brandy just because I find Ian, the fire helmet gets passed not based on performances and who won the game, but who needs a boost and hadn't gotten one in a while. And that's Brandstrom's first goal. Somebody in the chat said first goal since March, first point since April. And that, again, that wasn't a Brandy point where it bounces off someone and in. That's a clean clapper on a breakaway, beating his old teammate and fellow countryman, Philip Gustafsson. So I think it's going to be Brandy.
Yeah, and it is cool, right? He took if I'm not mistaken, right? He took the ceremonial face-off tonight.
2 for 2 in the face-offs.
Yeah. And it's neat, right? Like you want to see these guys be able to build on it. And I think, like, look, for the fan base, I don't think you walk away. Like, it's funny. I think if you said on Wednesday, Ottawa's going to come out of this with 4 points, you'd be like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, we're going to be feeling it. I don't think that the fan base is probably feeling that way. I think you're like, okay, we kind of survived it, but we got 4 points. But like we can't necessarily feel like we've got a ton of confidence right now. But 4 points out of 4 points, I think sometimes we get a little too nitpicky. Let's try and, like, for them, I think they probably need a little bit of a confidence boost. I think for the fan base, everybody's tired of talking about the losing or whatever. And so what was this now? 4 or 5 that they've won, right? With the exception of that Vancouver game, which was back-to-back. So, maybe you can say they're building on something.
Well, I was going to say, even in that Vancouver game, you mentioned they doubled them in shots, right? And that was a game where you're probably like, if your goalie has maybe a couple of those, changes the momentum. But today was kind of the opposite, where the goalie gets them to win. Take us into the arena, though, into the Avicii Arena. What was the atmosphere like for both those games?
It was so much better on Thursday night. And I don't know if that was a function of it being an 8 p.m. Start. Today was 5 p.m. and it's sometimes you can those late afternoon early evening games can sometimes maybe the buzz isn't there, but it was pitch black. Let me make it very clear. It was pitch black outside, so it felt like a night game. But I think Thursday, based on Ottawa up 4-0, Detroit coming back tying it at 4, and then that sort of kind of back and forth 3-on-3 to end it with, like, Tim Stützle's goal is going to go down you're going to see those great debates on podcasts like yours where what's the best regular season and most impressive. Like, that to me is like with remember Peter Schaefer up and over, was it Marty Turco with Dallas or whoever he put it up and over? Like, oh yeah. I think there's a great debate to be had. Like, what's the better hand-eye coordination? Peter Schaefer or Timmy Stützle? And it's a great debate. But that's what you're going to remember. And it was like I think you left that game emotionally drained because you felt like, oh my God, I've been through the ringer, right? This game, I think you felt like, did somebody replace my beer with like a NyQuil and a warm milk?
Yeah.
That's how I think a lot of people feel. But at the end of it, you still wake up and they got the 2 points, right? So, yeah, I think, again, right now, it's about getting points and winning games. They got point. They allowed the opponent to get a point. Okay, but they got 4 points out of here.
Yeah, and Ian, we said Minnesota, they can have the point. We don't mind giving Minnesota a point. Doesn't really affect us too much. So that's nice for them going home or up against the Leafs tomorrow. But, Ross, you want to jump in here? I'm
just wondering if it played at all an effect. Obviously, Detroit has such a rich history of Swedish players. Same with Toronto, same with Ottawa. Whereas Minnesota, like, I don't think it's a natural – like a fan base where it's like, if you're a natural Swede, if you're from there, you're not going to be attracted, I don't think, that much to the Minnesota Wild. So how much of the people from talking around, I'll ask it this way, what percentage do you think were native Swedes that were just excited and went to the game versus people that traveled to go for the experience?
Ooh, good question. It's funny though. The one thing is, and I think the Ottawa fans, and they'll tell you, either if you're in the chat and you're at the game tonight, feel free to weigh in. But there was a lot of Minnesota fans, like a lot of them. And yeah, I think most people would have been surprised. That would be my guess. If you're at the game, you'd be surprised. And I wonder if there's that whole sort of, if you think of the Minnesota, of this state of Minnesota and Minneapolis, St. Paul is very much infused with like kind of that Scandinavian culture and feel, right? And so I don't discount that maybe there are some people that, for whatever reason, are Minnesota Wild fans by lineage or whatever. So definitely tons of Detroit fans. I would say of the 4 teams, just visually, I felt like I saw a lot of Red Wings jerseys, but I wasn't I opted not to go to Toronto, Detroit in the building. So I can't sit here and tell you that I saw tons of Leafs jerseys, but even in the streets, it didn't feel like the Leafs fans were dominating. I would argue more maybe Wild, Sens, and Leafs are all about the same,
Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that's great for the NHL. Like, I know they were saying on Elliot Friedman's show, they had Luc Robitaille on, and he was saying, look, it's great to go do these global games, but you can't just go and leave and that's it. Like, you're not going to build fans. You're not going to keep fandoms there. You're not going to have the kids that go to those games. Like, you have to keep kind of continuing on that tradition. So I said it to Ross before you came on, Ian. I'm down. Put the Sens down for every Sweden trip moving forward here, because this has been a success for them in Sweden. And Ian, this is where my next question goes. The Sens fans know the Sweden curse isn't about playing hockey in Sweden. They're 5-0-1 in Sweden. That sounds great. It's after. Now they got a lot of days off, and they're up against the New York Islanders team after. Like, what do you think are some things that they can do to not let that break and not let the high of coming off Sweden kind of collapse and fall flat when they head back to North America here?
I'll tell you guys, and the jet lag is real. And I'm thinking I didn't even physically exert myself like these players did. And I feel like I've been through a ringer, right? Like, I really do. I see the comments. Ian looks bagged. Yes, I do. I am absolutely tired. And I think what they're going to do is so today's Saturday, right? I'm totally messed up here. Okay. So
all day Saturday.
They're flying home around 10 o'clock on Sunday, 10 a.m. That'll put them back into Ottawa, I think around noon or 1 o'clock, just with the time.
I don't love that, though, Ian. We were saying this team's got to have the green light to go out and party.
My guess
and
would be there's
10 a.m. flight is tough.
My guess would be there's a green light for them to go and enjoy themselves. And when you have 4 points, I think you do that. A lot of them have friends and family over. A lot of them brought their spouses and significant others. And this would be a chance to, go and do that stuff. So, go and enjoy yourselves. So they fly back tomorrow. Monday, the way DJ Smith explained it to me after the game was they're going to just do a skills day. And he's not even going to be there. Coaching staff won't be there. It'll be Alfredson, Jesse Winchester, Sean Donovan. It's optional. So the league rules are after you fly back, it has to be a day off and an optional that have to be folded into it. And then Tuesday, DJ said we'll do a full hard practice. Wednesday, complete day off. Thursday, back to it, full hard practice. Friday, game against the Islanders. So I think they brought a sleep expert in. All I'm thinking about is that this sleep expert should have watched the game we just covered. Like that, the sleep expert could use that as a. Yeah, exactly.
That was tough, but at least you get the win, and that's that. Ian, my final question for you, Ian, we really appreciate you taking some time. I know that we Gab LaFrance in the chat too, saying that he's appreciative. You took a lot of time to hang out with fans over there. Were you at this? This isn't my final question, but I do want to ask. You were at some meetup Friday night?
I was, and I feel bad. I took a bunch of pictures. I didn't take one myself with my camera, I don't think, which I feel really bad about. But it was amazing. I would say ballpark, if anybody was there, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think about 100 people were there, 100 Sens fans. And the cool thing is the last time I came to Sweden to cover the Senators was 2008 when I was with Sportsnet. And if you go back to 2008, I feel like Facebook was in its infancy, and I was probably texting off of BlackBerry. So to just logistically set up a meetup, I don't think I met any fans in 2008. Maybe the odd one you'd see in the street or whatever. Right. And to do this, I'm going to remember the interactions with this group that came over, probably almost as well as the Tim Stützle goal, because it was really cool. It's a reminder that it's a real privilege to be a media member. It's a real privilege, and it's a even bigger privilege if you get an opportunity to work at an outlet that will allow you to travel for something like this. Like everybody else, let me put it this way. Everybody else who came on this trip, they paid with their own hard-earned money. And it's never lost on me, especially because I work behind a paywall. Actually, I'm going to be sending you guys a bill for this later. But I work behind a paywall. And, it really matters to me that I can take some time. It's not ever a bother. Like I hope that that's how it comes across. It's never a bother. So even when I felt so bad, like when you guys, for whatever reason, I never saw your DM until today. For whatever reason, I was like, whoa, that's a weird one. I got a DM from the boys at Locked On, and I felt so bad because I would have loved to have joined you earlier in the week, but I'm so glad to do this because I know you guys support my work a ton. The least I can do is support work back of other blogs and podcasts because I was reminded this week. This is a terrific community.
Well, no, you've just reminded me now because like we have texted before too. I should have just sent you a text. That would have been the easier way to go. But
exactly.
I am going to get to my final question now.
And don't ask me trivia because my brain is fried, and all of my answers are going to be like Chris Campoli.
No, I'm not going that direction, but it's an often used trivia answer.
Okay.
Daniel Alfredson, how much fun did he look like he was having? We read your article. That photo, too, was 10 out of 10. We grabbed it for the after the game, just saying Alfie's 2-0 behind the bench, the main one for the article there. But how much fun did he look like he was having in this weekend?
He had a great time. And I really am appreciative. Like he gave me a chunk of time on Thursday, and we just sat in the hotel. And he was nervous, he was excited, and you know what? He loves being around the players, and you could see the admiration that Tim and Brady and the guys have for him. Like he commands respect. Like he walks into a room and he just has an aura about him, like that he can command a room. And so I think for him to come home and think about like you're behind a bench in the NHL. And that, by the way, he wanted to make it very clear to me that was all DJ Smith. And he was actually kind of surprised. And DJ asked him well before the Sweden trip, I think we could use you. I think you'll benefit from it. I think it'll be special for you. Let's get you back there. And, I think that's pretty cool. So this is a great opportunity for him. His son lives about 6.5 hours away. Which I didn't even realize you get in a car, you can go 6.5 hours north of here. I don't even want to know what time the sun sets there. But he plays in this little town. Hugo, his son, is down here spending the weekend. His wife is here. His dad flew over on the charter. Anyway, been a great 10 out of 10 experience for Alfie. I think for a ton of fans too, they all saw a lot of, I think, I would wager Michael Andlauer took about 50 selfies, 50, if I had to guess, like everywhere. Like how many fans I ran into that I ran into Mike Andlauer and he took a picture and he's such a nice guy. And so this was great. Like this was a great experience, I think, for a lot of the kind of the faces of the franchise that the Alfies, the Mike Andlauers and Timmy Stützle coming back and, maybe getting 4 out of 4 points. We can park how it happened. They got 4 out of 4 points, and we'll get back to it on Friday. Get back to our nitpicking on Friday.
Pillsy was pretty upset with you. You didn't ask a German question to Timmy.
Oh my gosh. Like it's so intimidating. Like, and some of these journalists that are here, and I feel like I took French through grade 12 and into university, and I can understand it quite well, but I'm very shy to try to speak because it's intimidating, right? Like you get
aussi.
Yeah, wow, see. And so then you see some of these reporters that come over and they're like, they speak like 5 languages, and I feel like so like inferior. And it's pretty cool. Like they do the press conferences here. Like today in the morning, they did Jake Sanderson and Tim, and they said, okay, at the end, German questions. And today it was Swedish questions for the two. And it's really cool. Like even Matt Sogard told me, like for him, I had a great conversation with Matt Sogard the other day. And for him to be able to come back,
his brother was at the game. His brother was just texting me. He says he's 4-0 live.
Get this guy season tickets.
Honestly. We're 12-0-1 when Pillsy and I go together, by the way. So we
12-0. What's the overtime loss?
The Chicago Chris Neal jersey retirement. They were up in the third period. I know.
3-1 they were up.
They were up 3-1, and Brady did the Chris Neal after.
Yeah.
The goal. Then had a huge hit.
Was perfect.
He was playing like Chris Neal, and then Patty Kane ties it, Patty Kane wins it, and it's like his last game in Chicago. You couldn't have traded him 1 week earlier?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I want to let you go. I really do, but I have to
Wait,
ask.
I got a final question too, Ross.
Guys,
this is how we do it. We got final questions each, but you go ahead.
Yeah.
Mine's a follow-up. It's the same thing. Creatures of habit,
Final.
hockey players. Alfredsson's 2-0. Like, he has to be on the bench against the Islanders, right?
Who, boy, you know what? I think it's a great question, right? Like I don't like at this juncture, I don't think he was interested in a role that was so kind of taxing that it would be like a de facto assistant coach. Like, I don't think so. Now, things can change. Yeah, exactly. It's whatever he wants. And honestly, maybe I didn't talk to him tonight after the game. Maybe what if these 2 games behind the bench have given him like a taste and he's like, I love it. Like, I don't know. So I'd be hesitant, but all I can go is off my last conversation with him, which was pretty extensive on Thursday, in which he was like, I'm not planning to do all the road games. I want to just kind of put my, dip my foot in the water, see what works. He still hasn't ruled out involvement in hockey ops in some capacity, but I don't think he's looking at the general manager thing, to be honest with you. I don't get that vibe from him. I don't. Like, I get more of a, hey, can we make a hybrid player development? You're sometimes on the ice and sometimes you're in the boardroom and so whatever. Like, they'll carve something out for him. But I don't know. Like, if you put him on the bench for the game against the Islanders, now you're basically saying, I think he should be on the bench every night, right?
Until they lose, at least.
Yeah. But he should.
Imagine that. You tell him that. Yeah.
He should be on the bench every night. He is the Daniel Alfredsson of the Ottawa Senators, though. That's his title. Yeah.
There you go. It's an astute observation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're a superstitious bunch, Ian. I said I had never worn this reverse retro jersey ever. It's been in my closet. I was like, you know what? For some reason, it feels right to wear it in Sweden. They get the first win. So I said, I'm wearing it again. They get the second win. So I need Alfie on the bench. And I will be a part of the reason this team wins. I will sacrifice and I will continue to wear my reverse retro jersey when I watch the games. Now, Ian, final question for me. And you mentioned you want to touch up on some other languages, particularly German. I know I said I want this team going to Sweden every time. So maybe we can do a hybrid here, but I want to get your opinion on this. Next global series, throw in a Stockholm game just so the Sens can get an automatic 2 points. That's what they do. And then Detroit versus Ottawa in Mannheim in Germany. We got to have that happen, right? Tim Stützle up against Moritz Seider. The people of Germany would go nuts.
I'm going to say 2 things to that. One is, don't discount the Leon Draisaitl factor in Germany.
Yeah, and bring him along too. He can come along too.
He's
going to be with Ottawa by then?
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. His contract's up in 2025. And now this is time for a shameless tease.
Ooh.
Shameless article tease time. Coming Monday, there might be a quote from a certain owner of the Ottawa Senators about future Europe plans.
Here we go. Okay, I like it.
So that's the tease. That's the tease. Can't give you
that.
everything, but So let's just say the question that you asked to me, I asked to Mike Andlauer tonight.
Great minds think alike. Man, that's incredible.
Look, and I got 2 great questions from the legendary Ian Mendes. This guy teaches journalism, and I'm being told great question here, sitting in a dark after a 10 a.m. Central Time start after I worked the 4 a.m. shift this morning. So I'm buzzed off of this. We're having a great time here following all your work, as we always do with The Athletic. And since I'm letting you off the trivia hook this time,
yes, please do.
In the next 2 weeks. So you're coming back on Locked On Senators. We're doing full trivia. Sometimes
you know what? After I've gotten back onto a normal sleep cycle, count me in. But one thing I do want to say to you guys, and this isn't me making it up. Your names came up multiple times in my conversations with people over here, like in a good way. Like all the fans over there that are Locked On citizens, and I'm telling you, you guys, you have done a terrific job in, like, it's all about connectivity with your fan base. That's it. That's all it is. It's be authentic, be genuine, and you guys have done it. And I'm telling you, from talking to the people over here, at least a half dozen times your podcast came up, and you should be proud of building something up from nothing, 3 years ago, and through that whole pandemic or whatever, to what you've done now. So anyway, I wanted to say that. I should probably say this stuff to you in private, but sometimes I think you deserve the kudos in public. So I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate you guys. If you want to keep going, feel free.
No, at the end.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ian. That means a lot coming
You know
from
what,
you.
reason?
That means a lot coming from you.
Because Kevin just joined. That's why I'm leaving.
Kevin! Oh, man.
I'm out, Kevin.
Do you get to see Kevin at the games? He's
I
running
do.
the elevator.
Sometimes I take his elevator.
There you go.
And so the odd time I will, the odd time, but not all the time. But yeah, I do see him, every now and then.
That's awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Really do appreciate the kind words, Ian. You really don't have to say that, but it is kind of great to have your view from Sweden. Like you said, really seems like a lot of outlets are pulling away from allowing their reporters to go and cover it. So you are really kind of opening the door to us fans being able to see this. And
it's such a shame. Honestly, it is. Like my dream scenario would have been, all the major media outlets are here. And it's a bad state of affairs, right? Like it's not fun. It's not great. I'm always a believer. I think more voices in the media, more outlets, that's the way to go. You don't want just me being your guy. Now for a week, sure, maybe that's a good thing, but that shouldn't be a thing full time. So it was an absolute privilege to kind of try and do some reporting and ask some questions here for everybody.
And since you've been asking all the questions, now you're just taking a barrage of final questions, but you teased one story. Give me the number. You don't have to tease any others. We're not holding you to it, but how many stories do you think we're going to get out of your time over in Sweden?
No, you know what? I've already kind of pumped a lot. Like the Alfie one was the big one. I wanted some time with him. Yeah. I have a really fun story coming at some point next week that I spoke to a whole bunch of European fans, and I wanted to know, how challenging is it for you to follow the NHL when the games start at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m? And it was a great window into it for me. And I actually talked to Eric Brandstrom's dad too for it. Like, how do you watch your son? I talked to a play-by-play guy over here who does games off a monitor at 2 a.m. in Hamburg, Germany. Like, what's that like? So that's the one I'm actually really excited to do. And I spoke to a couple of really cool Sens fans. One from Norway named Ruben, who was like just awesome to deal with. And then some other fans. Anyway, so that's the one I'm really excited to put together. But I told my editor, I'm like, I just at some point need to sleep. Like at some point,
fair.
Need to sleep. Like, oh man.
Well, I see that behind you calling your name, Ian. So we'll let you get into it. Really appreciate your time, man. You didn't have to do this. You've had such a busy couple days. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. We'll see you, and first round's on us when we get to Ottawa, man. You deserve it, and we really do appreciate all the great work you put in for us Sens fans.
See, Gabe just reminded me of Stefan from Sweden. How can I forget Stefan from Stockholm it's because I have my brain isn't firing. I was like, I remember Ruben from Oslo, and I can't. And by the way, when you say first round is on you, that sounds like a playoff prediction. This team's going to the playoff. That's what you said, first round on you.
The entire first round will pay for your drinks, honestly, Ian. Let's go.
Yeah, there we go.
Gonna have to write up a Sens-ternity leave for the office. It's either gonna be 2 weeks or 2 months or somewhere in between. But I gotta go. Talk
Okay. Hey, honestly, thanks for having me. I apologize. I didn't see your note earlier in the week, but I'm glad we made this happen.
All good.
Say safe travels. Get home to Ottawa safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good one, everyone.
All right, take care. That's the legendary Ian Mendes,
guy.
Live from Stockholm, Sweden. And because this is after dark, I think we're going to use some of that for Monday's Locked On Sender. So
I was thinking the same thing, Ross. I was like, this is too good. Obviously, all 355 of you guys know this show gets even better after dark. We just let it fly. So you guys, you were treated for staying with us here, but we got to share some of that with the rest of the people on Monday's episode because Ian is just always a legend. You know, Ross, I think there's probably about a 3-minute clip. Maybe we'll just put that clip of him congratulating us and telling us how great we are. Let's just put that as segment 2.
Oh man, that's so funny. What just a great guy. No, we'll use all that. This was the longest podcast we've done, and keeping as many of you guys entertained is kind of what our goal is. And so this is just fantastic for us too. So really appreciate all of you guys for making us your first listen every day, but also this bonus coverage that we provide with the Postcast. It goes a long way to helping us grow the show as well. So keep spreading the word. It's for fans by fans, and we don't pretend to be, experts or above anybody or anything like that. We just want to be, taking the emotion and the temperature of this team. And one day we'll cover playoffs together. It will be an absolute blast. So enjoy the rest of the day. It's 3:30 in Ottawa. So go out, and I believe it's a milder day. So let's get as many rays as we can before it's as dark.
Head to the Glebe Central Pub. Enjoy your day. Let's go.
We had a couple people say they watched the game there. So that's
awesome
in and of itself. Pilsy, any final thoughts after a monster postcast and postcast after dark?
Final thoughts for me is just we are just so blessed. The Sens community is the best. Like you heard it from Ian Mendes, the ultimate Sens legend there, covering the team for so long. But just going over there, meeting over 100 people, getting the meetup going. Michael Andlauer is glad to take photos with people. Alfie's having the time of his life. The chat is firing in the Postcast After Dark over an hour and 15 minutes here. Like, I'm so glad that this is the team and this is the fan base and this is the community that we get to be a part of. So shout out all Sens fans. The Sens community, absolutely elite.
Likewise, I was just sending Ian a note saying thank you to him as well. And thank you to all you citizens in the chat. The Senators win 2-1 in a shootout. Woo! Josh Norris scores the overtime winner. And last, we're going to talk about this more on Monday's Locked On Senators, but it's a shame we haven't talked about it. So we will finish off the show here with 2 minutes on Travis Hamonic-Nick's assist in this game.
You love that.
Maybe the funniest assist of all time. A slap shot to the shins that goes 100 feet the other way, and he gets a secondary assist. How many times has a player gotten an assist where the goalie then gets the primary assist on a breakaway goal?
Yeah, that can't be that often. There's a trivia question for Ian. Bank that one.
Yeah, he's going to spend his whole 8-hour flight trying to figure out the answer. I love it. I love it. Pamo, really appreciate you from the bottom of our heart here. Really appreciate everybody. Let's get some Go Sens Goes in the chat. We're going to leave the way we came in with the Senators theme song because I want to hear it myself. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
That's absolutely sick.
Number one.
So you're an expert.
That's absolutely sick.
So you're an expert. So you're an expert. So you're an expert. So you're an expert.
Unnoticed. It's just a complete workout. He's got nothing up there. He's a bad guy, bad player. But what a joke he is.
Probably not.
Yes. Ha ha ha. Yes.